often, when you want a really fast tomatillo salsa, you just throw all the ingredients in the blender and make this slushy, bright tasting salsa. It's absolutely delicious. But sometimes you need a little bit more consistency to it. You want it to flow beautifully over that taco that you're gonna make. And you don't have time to roast the tomatillos and let them cool off and everything. So I'm gonna show you a really fast, super herby salsa that's really become one of my favorites. Of course, we're gonna start with fresh tomatillos in this case, and you have to take the little skins off of them. If they're particularly sticky, then you might wanna rinse off that stickiness there. And then I'm gonna cut them in half. This is a ½ pound, by the way. I'm gonna cut them in half and put them in a microwave-safe bowl, because I'm not usually the guy that will tell you to boil tomatillos, and basically the microwave is going to give us that sort of boiled tomatillo-like texture. But in this one, because of all the beautiful herbs that we're going to add to this salsa, it's going to be perfect to just do this. I've got to splash a tiny little bit of water into the bowl, and then I'm going to cover it and put them in here for 3.5 minutes. So set this for 3:30, and I'll show you what these are gonna look like when they come out. Okay, I wanted you to see what this looks like. Remember, it's gonna be really hot, so you'll have to use a pot holder or a towel, but I wanted you to show that they're still kind of a beautiful lime green, but as they cool off now, they're going to darken to a kind of olive color. We can't go on with this until they come to room temperature. Now here's what makes this salsa so incredibly special. It's herbs. And I would suggest you can make it with cilantro, just straight cilantro, but if you have the opportunity to add in a few other things, then I would recommend doing that because it just makes it so incredibly delicious. So I have cilantro, flat leaf parsley. This is the small arugula that you can buy in most grocery stores these days. And this from my yard is lemon balm. Now you can do all different kinds of herbs, but when they get into the strong herbs, the things like rosemary or thyme, you would just put a very small amount of those things in with these kinds of herbs that will be the bulk items. When you have basil, and lots of people have basil in their garden, I would recommend not making this entirely with basil, but use basil as one of 2 or 3 different herbs that's going to go into this. So there's lots of possibilities for making this salsa your own based on what you have, or maybe what you have on your porch in some pots or in your backyard garden. So what I'm going to do is to work with a little bit of cilantro for this. And I'm just going to give it a kind of a rough chop here because I have to pack it into a ½ cup. That's what I'm going for, is like a ½ cup measure full of this. Now the flat leaf parsley will give me a very green flavor, which kind of underscores all the other flavors. And put a little bit of this arugula in there because it adds spiciness to everything that's here. And then I've got a little bit of this lemon balm here, which is just so delicious. It's really lemony and lovely. So we'll put that there. I'm not quite to my ½ cup, so I'm going to finish it off with another little round of cilantro. And there I've got my ½ cup of it. Put that into our blender jar along with the now cooled tomatillos and all of their juice. You need all of that to go in. And then your chili, depending on how spicy you want to make it. I'm going to make this one kind of spicy because I think with those herbs it's going to be really nice. So I'm going to add a couple of serranos, but one serrano will definitely make it spicy. This is going to be really spicy. And that's what's going to be blended fairly smoothly because we've just chopped up the serranos and put them in there. And then we will add chopped onion at the end. See how beautifully green that is? I'll pour that into a salsa dish. Now here's where you're going to want to determine whether you need to have any water added to it. It's a little bit on the thickish side, so I've got some water here that I could just stir in, but not very much. We just want to make it into what I would call an easily spoonable salsa, so that looks about right. I've got some onion here that I am going to chop up. We don't need very much for this salsa, but I like the crunch that it adds to the salsa, but I'm going to chop it quite finely here. And then I'm going to do my traditional rinsing of the onion, because for me, this is such a fresh tasting salsa that I don't want to have any of that strong onion flavor come in its way. So to keep it very fresh, I'm going to go to the sink and rinse it with cold water. That'll get all of the sulfurous mixture that we created by cutting through the onion. Shake that all off. I may have a little bit more than what this needs here, but we'll just put some in here like that. And now we got to season it with salt. I think it can take the rest of that. Looks good. And stir that up nicely. And then, as always, I'm going to taste it before I season it. Yep, I really put 2 serranos in that cup of salsa. So, okay. Now I'm going to add, if I can talk, I wanted it to be spicy, and I got a spicy salsa. I'm going to put some salt in the top of it here and then stir that in. And then I'm going to give it another taste, just to make sure that all of the flavors come out perfectly balanced. That's what it is. It's going to go with all kinds of things, but especially things that have a meaty flavor or have dairy with them. That sort of fresh, bright, and spicy salsa will be the perfect balance for those kinds of dishes.